You know the joke
There's nothing
before
there.
we even started?
What's the joke?
A horse get inside a bar, and then the bartender says to the horse, "What's the long face?"
That's right.
Did you get that?
I got it.
Okay.
Never heard that one before.
Wow.
Do you read knock-knock jokes to make yourself feel better these days?
Wow.
Listen, to be honest with you, I feel pretty good.
You
Yeah.
do.
I feel excellent.
Well, your season is reliant on
No,
Wednesday.
we're already sitting on the couch watching the rest of you guys fighting. It's beautiful.
That's fair enough.
Beautiful.
Expectations really plummeted.
You know,
man.
I watch you guys slaughtering each other and you know, trying to get yourself out and things like that.
Well, hey, listen, we said a while ago that this season is one of the best that I can remember in terms of the competitiveness at the top of the table. And we said that there was a chance for this season to get even more crazy. And what needed to happen for that? For finally, maybe the first time in 60 years, we could see a Scudetto playoff final where if
Really?
Inter and Napoli end on the same amount of points, they play a one-match final to determine who wins the Scudetto. Inter has the advantage where they would play at home in Milano because of the goal difference. But that's how the league could be decided. And because Inter lost to Bologna, it now is that they have to
Really?
match each other's results. So,
They lost
for
with
example,
Bologna? They lost with Bologna?
For example, all that needs to happen is if Napoli get 5 wins, Inter have to get 5 wins. If Napoli get 4 wins and a tie, Inter get 4 wins and a tie. And then we have this playoff final, which would be one of the craziest things I think we've ever seen in Serie A.
It would be so difficult, but man, this would make monumental news. Oh my, this really depends. I don't want to get my hopes up high, but if the stars align and this
What do you mean
happens,
your hopes are high? You
It's
want
the-
Inter to win?
No,
like everybody.
I'm saying-
I want Inter to win.
I'm saying for this playoff.
I want Inter to win the Campionato. I wanted to win the Coppa Italia. I wanted to win them the Champions League. I'm dying to see them winning.
But how
Because I
exciting!
can't
How exciting
stand them.
would a final be? Especially for
Crazy.
people, we always. I mean, we have IFTV
They
for
will
years
win.
now
They
because
will win.
because we want Serie A to grow in terms of the viewership, in terms of the excitement.
No, we wanted to grow, not Serie A too. We needed to grow.
Jeez.
We needed to
Easy,
grow.
Paisa.
We are already growing and growing and growing and growing.
Like an oak tree.
Now, right?
Watch
now,
out,
we-
your head's going to hit the ceiling.
okay, fine,
we
the
need-
Serie A,
we
but
need-
we are growing, okay?
Do you,
Right,
yeah.
Mike?
I don't
Even
know.
Mike is growing. It's going to be maybe
Thanks,
6-footer.
Wow, that'd be a miracle.
We need Serie A's viewership.
Oh,
to grow
viewership, absolutely.
because it's not where it should be.
Mm.
And I think a final, a Scudetto final, is something that every fan of every league would have to tune in and watch. So it'd be good marketability for the league. Peter, what do you think about the potential Scudetto final?
Final.
No, it'll be them. I mean, like you said, it's been 60 years. I didn't even know that they had one, to tell you the truth. So,
You know who it was? It was
Who?
between Bologna and Inter the last
oh,
time.
really?
Get out.
And Bologna won.
Oh,
I swear. But Inter won the
Goes through
Champions League that
Bologna.
year.
oh, I
And
love the research.
Inter won the Champions League
Champions
that
League.
year. It was a Scudetto final, and guess what? It's also the last time that Milan and Juventus both sacked their coaches mid-season. How
Oh
crazy
my
is
God! Everything is lining up, man.
Can we put a
History
bet on
repeats
this?
itself.
So wait.
for it. Go
Can you
for it. What
recap?
do you-
Can you recap? Inter wins what?
Guys, hijacking
Inter wins
everything.
what? Inter wins the Campionato? Like 60 years ago?
It's my fault. I interrupted you just to give a little snippet, and then
Oh boy.
go on.
What do I say?
Orsolini.
I think-
Orsolini.
Hunter, what's up with you today?
I can't.
Hunter, you gotta let
Let
everybody
him
speak.
All right, you
Let
can
him
talk. You
speak
can
first.
talk.
He already gave his.
You
his
can
thoughts on it.
talk.
Jeez.
Would you be? Would you want it to happen?
I mean, not really as a sporting side of me, like as the Inter fan, but obviously I think that really gives you that full enjoyment of being able to win the Scudetto. Not necessarily on the last day, but knowing that it's going to be a final. I think that is something that is extraordinary, and it's kind of like a Champions League final where tension is going to be very, very high, and it's going to be a high stakes game. And I'm sure it's going to be very calculated, knowing that Conte is on the other side. But it gives a good chance to see, these two teams that have been amazing this season. Although, you can say the slip-ups and whatnot, it's hard throughout a season to win every game. It's impossible, especially Inter that have played, 20 more games than Napoli? So it's, I don't know if that's accurate, but almost... I feel like
It will come out to being 20 or 21
Okay.
more, 22
So-
more by the end.
So, that's a lot more games to have to put into your legs, into a season where you're playing every 3 days, to travel. So,
You think it comes down to that?
what I would say is, for both teams, I guess, it's in their hands, right? So that's the beauty of it right now. Like, whatever Napoli do, they win out, they win the Scudetto. Inter, same thing. They win out, they win the Scudetto. So it's gonna be an interesting last few match days.
I think we said when we did the Bayern Inter, we said the worst game possible after coming off of a quarterfinal match for Inter is to go and play Bologna. Because if anyone's watched a lot of Bologna, and I've been lucky to watch almost every game, they play with such an intensity and with a way that they're going to press you for 90 minutes. And they almost grow into matches. They get better as the game goes on. The last 15 minutes, they were suffocating Inter with chances. And I thought maybe they would run out of time before they would get the winner. But then they were able to find it. Orsolini scores in something that looks like it was written out of a movie to get the win. But it's not a fun team to play against. It also has massive implications for Bologna and their Champions League run, which sounds also crazy to say. But for Inter, Mike, do you think it is? And I agree with Peter. I think it is because of the tired legs. And we have to also give credit to the opposition. It's not like Inter lost to Lecce or Monza. Yeah. They lost to a really respectful team.
When I said it's tired legs, I meant for the full season that you can win every game. Bologna, they've been on a massive run since 2025. And, I would even say for people that don't watch Serie A, they probably looked at Bologna in the Champions League and say, what the hell kind of team is this? But they've completely changed since that January. So they gave problems to everyone. I mean, listen, Napoli was up versus Bologna.
They probably should have lost that game.
Yeah.
Napoli probably should have lost to Bologna that match.
They could have easily lost that game. And, every game, I think Bologna has proven that no matter who's playing, they have these guys, they come in.
Yeah.
And they keep the level. So that was like the big thing with Inter, right? We say, and not to make it about Inter, but the subs are not adequate. Or the subs haven't come in and been able to change the game. Instead, Bologna, every sub looks like they have the dagger between their teeth, ready to attack.
Absolutely. Mike, do you think it comes down to the rotations? Like, for example, Correa, I think it's really clear that Correa is not to the level of where Inter should be as the guy to come off the bench. He never looks like he's ever going to be able to score a goal. So they lacked without Thuram and without key players. Or do you just give more credit to Bologna?
I mean, it's definitely both. Like Peter was saying.
But which do you give more to? Or are you concerned about Inter?
I'm not concerned about Inter. Just, dude, this is the end of the maze right here. This is when Inzaghi has the difficult job. This is why the triplet is so difficult to do, because it shows that you need to be like on form on every department, and they're playing more games than any other Serie A team. Bologna is fighting for Champions League. They've having an immaculate back-to-back seasons now with a new coach Italiano. So it's always going to be a difficult match. And then you try to do some rotation. You try to keep the same players. They look tired. And your bench isn't nowhere near as good as, your first team for some positions. So it was always going to be tough, this game. Did I expect Bologna to win like in the style? No, definitely not.
But you can't say you're surprised.
I wouldn't say I'm surprised. I was surprised that it came so. It was just a last-minute thing with Orsolini running around, ripping his shirt off. But these growing pains, this is what happens. And we were talking about how Inter do have a more difficult last stretch than Napoli for the Scudetto race. And this was a big one because versus Bayern Munich, they really gave everything. It was a tight, nail-biting game. It was until the last second we were thinking what happened. And it mentally drains you. The traveling physically drains you. And it's just so much pressure. And just thinking about Inter 2010, it makes it even more special to realize how difficult every game really is.
And to just give more color to that, I saw something that, of course, we always over-romanticize teams that have already won, like the 2010 team. But for some context, the 2010 team in round 33 was in second place. Roma was ahead of them.
They lost to Roma.
They lost. So they were second in the table. So I think that there's very few teams in the world that can do a treble. There's very few teams that are left in the world that could do a treble. If we take the final four teams, PSG, it's so hard to even consider their Ligue 1. Right, because they're always going to win that competition. But if we take Arsenal, right, Arsenal, who is one of the favorites, they're higher favorites than Inter are in the bookings. they are not in the race for the title in the Premier League. And a team like Liverpool, who for many people was the best team in the world because of what they did in the league phase, they were not able to get the balance right to be able to compete in the Premier League and in the Champions League. Barcelona is the only other one that we could put in this conversation. And Barcelona, as we even see week in and week out in La Liga, they have their own problems and they have to come back into games late on. So it's not easy. And I just want to put that context out there for a team like Inter. Of course, you're going to see these sorts of drop-offs. So I'm not... I don't have cause for concern, and I am not surprised that we saw this.
It's a regular thing. It's
I
it
had
happens.
predicted that they would lose this match. I thought that from your schedule, this was the game for Inter to lose.
Ando, what do you think about the situation? Let me answer. Let me, ask myself a question. Let me answer. Okay, here's the situation. Inter, it looks like a building that is almost being completed, but someone forgot to put the rebars inside of the concrete. You know what's a rebar? Okay.
Hold up the structure.
The
right?
rebar is the steel rods that you put inside of the concrete to make it reinforced concrete. Okay, so they're cracking. All of a sudden they're cracking.
You think so?
I know so, and I caught the tail end.
The guru.
Wait a moment. I caught the tail end of the comment that you guys were spewing on Paramount Plus, and I kind of like what Matteo and Grella said. This team here is not built for the triplete. Okay? It doesn't look like anything close to a team that even deserves to be in the position to play for the triplete. And you kept saying, "Whip, whip, 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 whip." This team is garbage. Okay?
Okay.
I'm telling you right now, this team does not have it.
Listen,
doesn't
they
have it.
haven't done it yet. I disagree. I mean, I don't think that they're going to win the treble. I think that Napoli is going to win the league. This is something that we've said here on the podcast for a long time. But I do think Inter's going to win the Champions League. And I actually think that they are the most balanced team to win there. I think you can't judge them by the amount of games that they've had to play. Because if they just focused on Serie A, they would have won Serie A. They'd be up by 10 points right now.
By landslide.
They would be.
According to who? According to you.
In my opinion, if Inter was just focused on Serie A, they would be up by 10 points right now. If they were out of Champions League. What do you think?
Of course.
Then in that particular case, they should have given up on the Coppa Italia, and they should have given up on the Champions League.
But we don't want that. As fans of Italian football, I actually like that Inzaghi, he's trying to play his cards right. This is what you have to do. Stay within each competition. Come the end of April, come early May. They're right there. Like Peter just said, it's still in their hands. If they win every match, they win the Scudetto.
Italians like you are kind of a cheerleader all the time for the people on the top when it's convenient. But when things are starting to go a little sideways, then you're starting to question yourself. By the way, you actually forgot to mention what happened to Inter when a few years ago they played Bologna and a poor judgment of a goalkeeper, which is still...
Radu.
Okay. He cost them the Campionato because up to then, Inter was... the winner of they already won. They already celebrated. All of a sudden, the ball goes.
That's football.
It's football. So that's what I'm trying to say.
That's why we love the sport.
We are trying already to glorify a team and to find already excuses for a team like you saying that Inter is involved in too many games. They are playing a lot more games than the average other team. Don't.
But
it's either you win. Yeah, it's a fact.
It's a fact.
But don't find excuses.
No, but it's reasons. It's not excuses.
What's Milan's excuse?
Don't worry about it. We don't have any excuses. We are enjoying it.
Sure.
We are enjoying. You know what's our excuses? It was so beautiful yesterday, Easter Sunday. Orsolini with a bicycle kick. Boom! And I started
too bad Milan
I was on my. I didn't want to put the rest of my guests through this whole stuff. I said, let me go upstairs because I have my big screen TV.
Soundproof walls, right?
No, yeah. And still, I let this beautiful sound of joy. That I was like, that was an Easter for me. Like I was eating an Easter sundae, which is an ice cream. I loved it so much, man.
Did you guys see the reactions in Naples?
Sure, they were honking the horn. I mean, listen, that's what they needed. They needed that. They needed Inter to slip because, unfortunately, Napoli, every time Inter has slipped, hasn't been able to.
I got news for you. No, you have a lot more banana peels waiting for you. They're going to be slipping all over the place.
Everybody talks about the schedule, but Monza that are already in Serie B gave Napoli a lot of trouble. So I think these teams have a lot more pride than what we once think or
That's true.
what we see with these teams. You know, it's going to be just as hard for Napoli than Inter when it comes to playing these games.
You gotta
in and
play.
out. I think Inter have more experience of winning. I think Conte has the experience of winning, but does that translate to his team and the players? So it's going to be a nice final finish.
It's going to be a nail biter, you say?
Listen, of course. I think it's going to go to the end. You know, ultimately, you know, at this point of the season, even Barella came out and said, listen, sure, we played a lot of games, but we can't make an excuse. We have to find the energy. You know, we have to play. We want to be able to make history, play in all three, competitions. Then we have to be able to do it. And even Inter, we've thrown away games.
Like
versus
who?
Parma. Versus Parma. Even though Parma had chances,
yeah.
you're winning 2-0.
Sure.
You have to be able to win that game. You know, so I do say yes to your point. Like, not that this team is shit, because I don't agree with that, but Inter this whole season, when it came to the head-to-head or playing versus, we've lost outside of the Champions League. We haven't been able to show our dominance. So I don't know if it's because of a switch or a character or whatever the case might be. Inzaghi trying to overcomplicate things potentially, but I think, you know, I don't know, when is Dumfries supposed to be coming in soon?
So it's the savior for you.
No, but it gives us something
helps.
different.
Yeah,
it gives us something different. Now, Dumfries going forward gives us a lot more than Darmian.
He'll be the most important player
It'll change.
to play against Barcelona.
It'll change a little bit. Sure.
He's going to be the most important player.
You know, so...
So in a scale of 1 to 10, how close are you to win the triplete? Just give me a number.
There's no such thing as
Just give me a
there's no
number.
such thing.
Pick.
To win the
It's a
triplete,
question.
there's only few teams that can win a tripleta, and one of them is Inter. That's it.
That can win the triplete.
can.
So in a scale of 1 to 10, since you can win the triplete, give me a number.
You never say. Do you ever say who's going to win the Champions League? Nobody can win the.
Yes, I can
Champions
say
League.
who's going to win the
Well,
Champions
it's not
League.
going to be
Who's gonna
Milan. That's
Who's
for
gonna
sure.
win the Champions
And it
League?
won't be Milan
Boy.
next year either. That's for sure.
Oh my god.
Who's going to win the Champions League?
Who's going to win the Champions League? I see Arsenal or Barcelona. I think Arsenal.
Okay, but at the
Arsenal
beginning of the
70,
season, when you were saying-
70 Arsenal, Barcelona.
So you can't
30.
even pick a team that's going to win the
70
Champions League. You see?
Well, but I'm telling you what is the percentage. I didn't put Inter inside of this equation. You know why? Because you guys are garbage. It's not a team. This is not a team. Listen to me. If you put the Inter of the triplete 1-to-1 with the players that they had, and the caliber, I'm talking about the caliber, with what you have right now, you have except from Barella, maybe Lautaro, and the goalkeeper. I will throw the goalkeeper in. Bastoni too. 4. All the
Half
rest.
the team.
So I have exactly.
4. No, 4.
So, but guess what?
All
guys,
the rest are just players.
But
Guys,
They
hold
have
on.
a
Guys, very
possibility.
simple. Very simple. You could scream. I could scream.
I'm not screaming.
Until we're.
Am I
said
screaming, Mike?
you could scream. Meaning you're capable of screaming. We're all capable of screaming at each other. And guess what? Nobody's right until it happens. That's the beautiful thing about football. You can make your prediction. There's teams like PSG, Manchester United, Manchester City. They spend billions and billions. They sign Neymar, Messi, Mbappe. But there's no calculating how to win a Champions League. That is just a pure fact of the matter. We'll see who's right in the end. I think Inter will win the Champions League. I think Napoli will win the Serie A. And I think that Inter could potentially do all three. They absolutely have it in their locker to do all of them.
Yeah, there's a possibility.
You're wrong.
Okay, that's perfect. Anyway, let's talk about let's talk about I mentioned it before, but the celebrations from Napoli afterwards when Bologna scored the 93rd minute winner were hilarious. You've got Napoli fans who were in a tunnel and they all just start beeping their horns. There was also people that were in a plane and they asked the pilot to what the score of the game was because they had no service on their phone, and then everybody just started screaming. And then there was in one of the piazzas in Naples, they hung a Bologna jersey up. And even Rosario, our friend from that owns Ribalta, he sent me a video. He was on the beach for Easter Sunday, him and his son, and he just started recording, and they're going crazy. So it's beautiful to see the ups and downs because I think for Napoli, there's many times throughout the season that we thought that they were out. When they sold Kvaratskhelia was the moment that I thought maybe they were not going to be able to do it. And then they come and they get the tie. Billing scores against Inter. And I say, okay, they're going to do it again. And then they draw to Venezia. And they draw to Udinese. And we all had our question marks around the team. And I think that the game against Empoli, They needed to score a few goals to get their confidence up. The match against Monza is one of the worst that I've seen Napoli play all season, yet they found a way to win through McTominay. And I think this will give them that feeling, Mike, that it is actually their season and they could do it because, as Peter kept mentioning, it's in their hands to do it.
It's definitely in their hands. It's just, like Peter was saying, he brought up a good point. These small teams playing for pride, they're not just going to roll over, you understand? And it's not even just them. Does Napoli have the mentality? That's something I've been questioning this whole time.
They definitely do, though.
Do they?
We're 33 games in, and they're tied on points.
You want me to tell you something? If Napoli played after Inter with Bologna winning this game, do you think Napoli...
Yeah.
You think so?
They've had to do it how many times?
They've done it already.
Yeah, they've done it a million times.
But when the last stretch of it is when it matters.
I don't think we could.
It's magnified.
I don't think we could
And
say
I'm
that
not
they don't have the
sure.
mentality.
Now it's a
because
question mark
you
for
could
me.
you could say that about literally every team. The fact that they're here, round 33, we're going in,
No,
and they're tied 71 on
100%.
points. They've had the mentality.
Whatever-
I thought they showed the mentality against Inter.
If they
when
finish
they did it
second
against
place-
Inter, that was a team that showed me they're mentally up to the challenge to win the Scudetto.
If they finish second place, this has been a successful season.
We
for
know,
Napoli.
we know.
Incredible. But to win the Scudetto, you need that extra gravy to do it. And there's a question mark for me if they're, and I think it's a mental part. Are they mentally there? Because Conte says one thing in the press conference, kind of demoralizes the team, says something. I don't know, that toxicity, all these little things, people think they don't matter. It matters,
Let's
man.
talk. Let's talk about what he said. I'll read some of Conte's quotes. Before the match, Conte put question marks around his future if he's going to be staying in Napoli, and then he doubled down after the match. And basically, to summarize, he said, "I love Napoli. Me personally, I'm doing well here. I love the food. My family's happy. There's a son. These are all things that I love." Just to set the stage that he's happy. But he said, also personally, I have ambitions. And for me as a coach, I want to get to that next level. And in the summer, we're going to have to make sure that Napoli's ambitions and my ambitions match up. So the first thing I'll say on this is anyone who knows Antonio Conte should not be surprised by anything that's said here. He's done it at Juventus. He did it at Inter. He's done it anywhere. He holds himself to high expectations. My bigger question mark is why do it now? It's more so the timing. Because you're 5 games to go. Do you really need to be putting out this messaging to the squad that could demoralize the team? That's my question mark. It's let's keep it hush-hush until the end of the season. And then at the end of the season, rightfully so, you have to sit at the table.
What is it
or is he trying to say these things to motivate his team to put a mental edge? You're shaking your head.
What I think Conte is doing here is distracting the the light.
The media?
He's making, because now the talking point is we're just doing it right now. It's not can Napoli do it. It's, oh my God, Conte's doing it again, that he's going to leave at the end of the year. So by taking that pressure away from the players, he's making himself the focus. At the same
Does that
time,
help the players though, or
Yeah.
does that
It does.
demoralize
Mourinho
the
does
team?
it.
No, I don't think it
You don't think
demoralizes
so?
because it's also the communication that the coach has with the journalist. The players know that it's not always straightforward. So, you have to always read and listen to it with a grain of salt. Because even the players, when the players talk to the journalists, you think they'd say everything that comes to their mind? They know what they can say, what they
It's an
can't
interesting
say.
take.
So that's one part. What I think is now for him to clarify, right? If he says one thing to the journalists, he goes into the locker room and says, "Hey, we got to win this year, and let's use this as a motivation. This is an historic team that we're gonna be able to do what we're close to doing. Let's finish it. Let's."
So
do
you
it.
think it's that?
listen.
I would leave towards that. And if he wins, he's gone. If he loses, he's gone. That's how I
Listen,
see it.
guys, let me ask
What do
your
you
age.
make of it?
Let me ask your age. How old are you? None of my business. But how old are you? 31, right? 30,
Yes.
31. Close, right? Close.
I'm
You, Mike?
29.
29.
Yeah.
You're telling me, right, that you don't know the difference when someone is talking or communicating, whether he's lying or he's trying to be
That was a great setup.
politically or sport-wise
That was great.
correct.
So what is it? Explain to us.
He's a
since you're-
liar. I'll tell you the
Conte's a
reason
liar?
why.
How so?
First of all,
Wait, what's he lying about?
he's lying about his future at Napoli. He's gone already. Winning or losing.
I just said.
And I said it
but
already
he
a
kinda said
couple
that, no?
weeks ago, 2-3 weeks ago. Relax. Let me finish. This guy is not trying to divert the attention. He's trying to put the blame on De Laurentiis only.
But why
Because
do it
he's
now?
the type of guy
But why
that
do it now?
Why do it now?
Why do it with 5 games to go?
Because the fire is starting to is starting to make the water boiling. You're starting to see the bubble coming up to the surface. Blah 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 blah. That's what he does.
But I'm not.
I
we're
don't.
not-
But I
Relax.
understand.
We're not
Relax.
If he's boiling, and Inter boiling, who's gonna win this Scudetto?
Listen to me.
Wait, but we agree. We agree that he's putting the focus there. But my question is, why would you do it with 5 games to go? Why not just do it in the summer?
Because don't make me say something, because you told me that there are few things that you can say and few other things that you cannot say.
We're way past any of those.
All right,
We
so
can cut it out, don't worry.
this guy here is one of the reasons why I will never take. I love Napoli to death. I just hope Jesus Christ make them win the Campionato. This guy here is one of the main reasons. The way he presents himself and the way he trashes the ownership is one of the reasons of why I will never wanted to see this guy coaching AC Milan.
Next year,
because
coaching
he
Milan.
will do it. He will do it to AC Milan. He did it to Juventus. He did it to Tottenham. He did it to everybody. Just about everybody. And
Everyone
you
knows
guys,
this.
you sound like you're falling off the sky. Oh, look what Conte is doing just a few weeks before the end of the Campionato. This guy, in Italy we say, l'asino perde il pelo, ma non perde il vizio. Can you translate, Mike?
I don't know what that
Okay,
means.
the donkey loses the hair, but it doesn't lose his attitude. A donkey is a
It
donkey.
stays a donkey.
Okay, it
yeah.
stays a donkey.
So
Il
just-
lupo, però, non è
No,
l'asino.
è l'asino.
Maybe in body.
Il
L'asino.
il
Well,
lupo, per-
in
I
my
know, we got
town,
Bogo di
diciamo-
Fuoco
what do you
saying,
say?
producer saying it's a
all right,
wolf
well, whether it's
instead
the
of the
wolf
donkey.
or whether
The
it's the
wolf
donkey,
loses.
they both
the point
they have an
remains.
attitude.
Well,
So I think again, like I said, if you're surprised by Conte's comments, you have not followed Conte's career. It's as simple as that. As you said, he comes with baggage. He lets you win immediately. He gives us shock. He does something that no other coach can do, but he comes with this. Again, I understand that. I know that he's putting the pressure on De Laurentiis. I just wonder why not just wait for 5 games. And I know one thing I know about Conte, because again, I followed his career since he was at Siena. I listened to all of his press conference. When he says something, he does it intentionally. He doesn't speak out of pure emotion. He speaks with reason. And that's why I like your analysis of it. And I think that it probably is towards that, because I don't think you would say it 2 times in a row. Now let's see come the end of the season. But with 5 games to go, all we could say is that we are lucky to have a league like this. We could be the Premier League, which is boring, which since January, we've all known who's going to be able to win the Premier League. To me, that's not fun. To me, that's what Serie A was years ago. And I don't think there's a lot of enjoyment coming here week in and week out, and all of us being able to predict the Scudetto. So I'll say that we're lucky. Let's move on. Let's talk about other stuff. Mike, where should we go next? Why don't you choose? You've been the calm one today.
Yeah, apparently, right? So we talked about. Wait, we didn't talk about. There were 4 games postponed, right, for the next one. So, by the way, those are getting postponed to Wednesday. And for everyone out there, our condolences to the Pope. We know he passed away the day after Easter. For anyone that's watching. So, of course, things like this got to be postponed, and there's bigger things other than calcio at the end of the day. But why are you looking at me? Like
I'm not looking. I'm not saying anything. I'm waiting for you to finish. It's just it's very unfortunate. You know what? In a way, if this will be scripted, I think he died in a way that is kind of a glorifying to the Christian religion and to himself, because the Monday, il giorno della resurrezione, when you're supposed to be, So in a way, kind of the guy was almost given for death twice, and he waited until this time, and he decided to die. I don't think it was his decision; it was someone else's decision. So it was kept on this earth to the Monday. And
You got to say Happy Easter to
happy-
everybody.
Yeah,
He did a ceremony.
He got to greet all the big crowd on in St. Peter's and all the stuff. The Pope. It's a good reason for them to stop the campionato for 3 days.
Shows you how religious Italy still is. 'Cause
Yeah.
obviously every other league kept going on today, but in Italy they postponed, and the games will be Wednesday. They're all going to be played at the 12 o'clock window, and then Inter Milan is the semifinal of the Coppa Italia, which we paid just 3 hours after. So we're not able to talk about a lot of the Champions League race, and it moves back some of the teams. And now when you look at the league table today, you see Roma's position, and Roma could have a really big opportunity maybe to get into the Champions League spot, which I counted them out a million times. I thought it was crazy to even consider them to be there, but they keep freaking winning games.
Who expected
and
this?
they got to believe at this point.
Yeah, of course. I mean, no one was it 16, 17
16.
games unbeaten? So, yeah, whatever. When Ranieri got there, it was like, whatever. He's going to stay there till whatever happens in the season. Hopefully it gets as many points as possible. But now they're right there. It's going to be exciting. Who's going to make it? Lazio's right there, too. So, like, every part of the table in Serie A is pretty much alive and going. And it's pretty exciting. It's going to go for most of these things till the last day. And hopefully, I remember there was one year, I forgot what season it was, where we had like 8 different screens here, and there was like 15, 20 people here, and there was a goal. Okay, other than the live table, what's gonna happen? Yeah. And I was like, oh my god, this is insane.
We were here with Matt Santangelo. Remember, we were watching the games here.
Oh my god, it was insane.
And it was really exciting.
I was here.
Yeah, you were probably here.
So. Yeah,
I think it was 2017, 2018 season. It was a lot of fun, and
insane.
Honestly, we probably might get to that. And Roma have to play Inter next. It's away in Milano, but now there's even more reason for them to believe. I know Ranieri, he's also played the game a little bit in the last couple of weeks, saying we're not going to try to make our fans feel delusional. The Champions League, we need too many teams to drop off. But I mean, if you get a result against Inter, all of a sudden they're actually within touching distance of it.
Oh,
That's you see,
it's like, oh boy.
that's someone that Conte should learn. Ranieri, okay? Ranieri, if you compare it to Conte, they both have coaches, they both have a brain, but Ranieri uses the brain in a way that is conducive to make the team.
And Conte wins Scudetto, so I don't know.
Relax, to make the team work harder. He's not trying to find an excuse, and he's actually putting the Tifosi in a position to say, hey, guys, calm down, because things, they're going well and all the stuff, but it can be worse, you know.
Conte's actually said almost the exact same thing as Ranieri, because the whole season, everyone kept saying, oh, he doesn't want to put himself in a Scudetto race. He keeps saying, our goal is Champions League, which is kind of similar relative to what Ranieri said, where he's saying, all right, guys, we're doing amazing, but let's not get too excited. Conte's basically said the same. Until recent weeks, he's kind of kept himself out of the Champions League race.
You particularly have a soft spot for Conte, because I know he coached Juventus to what? How many championship? 3, 4 championship? 3. Okay, 3 championship. And I know you Conte. And I think that Conte does.
I'm Conte because of results.
Yeah, you see that?
I'm Conte because he goes into a team like Juventus, which finished 7th place twice, and then he
I
creates
just
a
hope
dynasty.
You're right. I just hope you're right, because I want Conte to win.
And I'm Conte,
not him. I want Napoli
I'm Conte
to win.
because he goes to Chelsea, which finished in 10th place, and then they finished in 1st. I'm Conte because he takes one of the worst generations of Italian teams. In the Euro 2016, he beats Spain, he beats Belgium. He takes the world champions to penalty kicks with Giaccherini, Eder, Graziano Pelé on his side. I'm Conte because of what he did at Inter. He tore down the dynasty of Juventus and built it at Inter, and now he's taking a 10th place team like Napoli, and if all things go badly, they finish in 2nd place. So that's why I'm Conte. I'm Conte because of results.
I will have 20 beers with Conte if he wins the Campionato. But as far as him as coaching, I'm not on the same page.
Anto, I told you this at the beginning of the season. If Conte was the coach of AC Milan, Milan would be winning the Scudetto right now.
If and buts, they don't work.
No, there is not. There's not one single doubt in my mind that Conte would have made this Milan. For the talent that you have here, he would have made you guys win the Scudetto this season.
It's either that or will be sacked maybe before Fonseca was sacked.
Mike? What do you and Peter? What do you guys think?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Milan have the pieces. On paper, compare Napoli and Milan, player for player. You can argue which team's better, right? And
is it an argument? Milan's much better.
I'm just giving the benefit of the doubt on his side, whatever the case is. If he has any doubts,
which do you think?
I think they'd be fighting for. Of course, they'd be fighting for this.
You think that they're better?
Does. That's his trademark. Oh yeah, they're better on paper, of course. But that's his trademark, Anto. That's why you bring in Conte after a disastrous season. You bring him back.
No, we're not bringing.
And he over delivers.
We're not bringing Conte back.
We had this discussion before. If Milan were serious about winning, they would have signed. They would have gotten Conte. Milan wanted somebody that's just gonna be a yes man. they went for Fonseca.
And now they're gonna sack him at the end of the season.
So
Conceição.
Conceição.
Fonseca, then Conceição, yeah.
So,
Conceição's gone.
yeah,
I mean,
you can't even blame Conceição.
No, I agree.
Whoever came in
Should have
already,
kept Pioli, man.
there's
You
very
should've gotten
little-
Allegri.
there's very little you can.
Wow.
I think
Oh.
Allegri would have been the guy to get at that
So
time.
we don't get. So your
At that
rejects,
time.
all the stuff that you reject, we're supposed to be getting.
Well,
You
Juventus-
were
hold on.
piling on Allegri like bang. You were just giving baseball bat. Bang, bang,
Okay.
bang. And all of a sudden,
Two-
Allegri's a good coach for
two-
you. You should have gotten Allegri.
two things.
You keep it, Allegri.
Two things. Two things.
Keep
to
it
that.
for yourself.
Two things to that. Do you realize that Allegri coached Milan before he coached Juventus?
So what?
So-
And he won too.
Okay.
But who was playing for AC Milan? Who was on AC Milan?
No, you just
Ibrahimovic.
You just said you have to take.
Cassano. We had some of the best players. Allegri didn't win with AC Milan. It's
Allegri-
AC Milan that won for Allegri.
Listen,
Okay, Mike. Let's reverse the
Pioli?
equation.
How about Pioli? when he
Allegri
did that?
Allegri is good for certain situations. For Juventus, he was not the guy to continue building their project. But for Milan, I think he would have stabilized you guys in a time when Fonseca was trying to change around the tactics. I think Allegri would have given you good stability, much better than what Conceição does. And I don't even think that's up for debate. I think it's pretty clear that Allegri would have made you guys much better than you are right now.
Listen. Let me just. I'm going to finish with this.
And he might be your coach next season.
In Italy, when you go to school, you learn that for the multiplication, there is a rule that says, cambiando l'ordine dei fattori, il prodotto non cambia. Can you translate that in
Is
English?
that the wolf or the
Changing,
donkey?
changing the order of the solution is not going to change the
No.
order of the
I
outcome.
fattori sono like it's like
two
two
numbers,
two
two
times
numbers.
3 is 6.
3 times
Three times 2 is 6. So by just changing,
Same
cambiando
result.
l'ordine dei fattori, the final product does not change. It's either you do 3 times 4 or you do 4 times 3. 12 is the final result. So what I'm trying to tell you, Allegri, it's not the solution. Just because he won in the past, so you will move it from the past, we put it back into the
ma
future.
nel calcio, cambiando i fattori,
What fattori? No,
o vinci o perdi.
does not.
3-2, 2-3.
No, it's not. In this particular case, I'm telling you that it's not going to happen because this is not mathematics. Soccer is not
So
mathematics.
I don't think.
So why are you making that point?
What I'm trying to tell you, that Allegri is not, non è un fattore. Allegri is not the final
Exactly.
product for us. It's not the final product. You guys can keep it.
So I don't. But again, for me,
Right, Mike?
there's two very different things. I think Allegri would have been good coming into the mid-season for you, but I wouldn't get him next season to start a project. I don't think he would be the guy. But again, what did I say? Stability. In that moment, he would have brought you stability. Going forward, I don't like the idea, but it seems like Furlani and co are leaning towards Allegri more than any other option at this point.
First of all, first of all, you guys talking because you read something or you heard something from somebody.
Where'd you get it from?
Between now,
He got it from the sky.
between now and August, we have April, May, June,
April's done,
and
buddy.
July. Okay,
What do you have
May,
to wait till
June,
August
and
to make a
July,
decision?
almost August.
Make
So,
a decision in August.
AC
What
Who's it
else?
gonna
Milan,
be?
AC Milan.
who's it
I
gonna
just
be?
will hope that maybe De Zerbi will be one of the chosen one. Ancelotti's on the equation. I understand again. So hey, I like to take my chances. I'm not going to just rush
just-
into
so
Allegri
those
or
two.
Conte. I will just say I will put all my chips on those two.
Not Gasperini?
No more.
You don't like him anymore?
Why not?
It's not somebody that is going to do well in AC Milan. Only if you listen. Gasperini will do well in AC Milan only if the ownership changes. But with this kind of ownership, you're not going to get Gasperini. It's not going to
He
work.
won't have enough say. Is that what you're?
No, Gasperini well, is going to say, I want everything on my hand, and I decided what to do. You guys buy
So
me
you think
what
he
I
won't be
want.
supported?
They will not be supported.
I don't disagree with that. I don't.
I love Gasperini, you know that, but
Not for
it's
this.
not going to work.
Not for this, yeah. Well, Atalanta Milan was a weird game, weird match. The way that Milan, I really thought, of course, with the three-man backline now, you did really great against Udinese, but we needed to see you against a proper team, a team that's very motivated. And especially in the second half, I was convinced that Milan was going to get something from this match. I really was. And maybe that sums up what Milan's season has been, that every time we've seen something good, they bring us down to reality and they never build on top of that block. And I think this was another example of that. Even in the second half, the way you started the second half, I said, okay, the goal is going to come from Milan. The goal is going to come. This is going to be where it happens. And then Atalanta, with one opportunity, one really great chance, they score a goal. and then Milan had no reaction. Once again, which maybe is the most worrying thing of all, is that when you concede a goal, it's like everybody just stops playing. It doesn't matter anymore. There's no chance, even though you're at home.
Atalanta didn't win the game. AC Milan lost the game, okay? Because it was an episode. That episode that changed the whole game. AC Milan on the paper, I mean, the ball possession, that doesn't mean anything. 63 to 35 or 62 to 38. That doesn't mean anything. It's what you do on the field. I think AC Milan played an okay game. It was not a great game. They didn't score on the chances that they had. Atalanta, they put that ball on the stuff. The Hernandez got caught a little bit too far ahead. The guy just put the ball, boom. And then, the goal that we have seen. And other than that, Atalanta is not...
But Milan didn't do enough.
Well, we didn't do enough, but neither Atalanta. So I think if anybody deserves, if AC Milan would have won the game, nobody would be complaining by now. We didn't win it. You know what?
What do you think?
We haven't lost either because it's not that we are fighting. We're not fighting for anything.
What are you talking about?
The only one fighting over here is the one next door to you.
Milan season really messed you up.
Yeah. We're not fighting. We're happy. We're very happy the way we are.
That's not Milan.
Yeah, we're very happy.
No Milan fan.
We are just letting the dust settle, and then we're gonna just recharge. Yeah, there's plenty of dust. We're gonna we're gonna probably demolish a little bit more, and then we're gonna rebuild.
I honestly, I have nothing more to say about Milan. I really don't. I don't have anything new to say.
My point stands from the previous rounds.
My points from the previous podcast, they could all apply to this. Didn't learn anything new. For Atalanta, credit to them that there was the pressure because of Bologna winning their match. And I was worried about the Champions League spot for a second. And I think Gasperini, after the match, he says something that is true, which is some people are taking for granted that Atalanta are getting a Champions League spot and still calling this season a failure for them because of the way that they went in Champions League, because they didn't fight for the Scudetto at a certain point. And while I felt that way for a little while because I thought there was a window of opportunity, I do agree with him in the greater scheme of things because there's not one person here who said that Atalanta would be in the top four, let alone be in third place. Most of us thought that there was other teams who were going to be there. Most of us said that Milan was going to be in that conversation. We didn't think, a lot didn't think Napoli could be there. Some thought Juventus were going to fight for the league title. So I think when we take into that context, the season of Atalanta, we would be too harsh to call it a failure of a season. Mike, you don't seem convinced though.
I'm just thinking about my predictions of what I put in the beginning of the season.
None of us had Atalanta.
No, right?
None of us had Atalanta.
I think I put Milan.
I had Milan. I was very wrong about Milan.
I had to put them to win it though.
I had to put them to win it in January. When Conte out, came back
big time, buddy.
Look at him blinking. Every time he starts blinking,
technically, I was still what at that point. At that point, we had everything ready to win.
What do you think?
It
about
didn't
that?
work.
Atalanta
Didn't work out. That's all.
Yeah.
Do you consider it a failure?
No, I don't think it's a failure. I think
is it a
more
success?
so that they had the I think. Listen, they also changed. Meaning, Atalanta in years past, Gasperini can say what he wants, but in the years past, if they would have lost Scamacca, they didn't put 30 million down for Retegui. Yeah, so
you got a point.
It has changed. Okay. Also, by keeping Champions League for the past years, they've been able to maintain players. Because Lukman, if it was Atalanta of the past, would have been sold. So there's a lot of things that you have to look into, and a lot of it is thanks to Gasperini. I've always said Gasperini with Atalanta has done a great job. I think also the behind the scenes characters, the Percassi family being one. Sartori, who I always mention, and look what he's doing in Bologna now as well, and the new American ownership that has come in and taken a more hands-off approach, or at the very least have looked to try to help in the commercialization of Atalanta or the marketing side, the branding side, more so than the sporting side. So, or outside of the actual team, let's say. So, it's been a project that's been healthy. We'll see what happens at the end of the year and what decisions are made with the coaching staff. But I think, really, unless you're pushing for the Scudetto, like if you win a Scudetto, that's a remarkable season. If you're pushing for the Scudetto to the end, a remarkable season. So getting Champions League is just where they're supposed to be, I think.
No, I think it's a little harsh, though.
What do you mean?
Because we didn't think they would get Champions League football
us,
this year.
yes.
We're saying based on
I
most
agree,
people.
I agree.
If you asked 100 people, 99 said No, I probably have Milan finishing above them. No, I have Juventus finishing above them. No, I have Inter finishing above them. Yet somehow they're still there.
Yeah.
So we can't say it's an okay season.
I said just where they're supposed to be.
Where they're supposed to be.
Where they're supposed to be would be Europa League.
Yeah, I agree with Mike.
Yeah, but then if they got in the Europa League, we would say it's a failure.
No, because based on our previous
Based
first
based on the
prediction.
start of the season, I'm talking about, but throughout the season.
Okay,
Look at the
okay.
season now.
Oh, okay, that's different.
Just
yeah,
as
we're
a
saying,
whole.
we're saying when the
Atalanta had
season
a chance
started.
to make the top 8, and they didn't make it.
Yeah.
So, like,
Yeah.
if they maybe made the top 8 and they were in Europa League, then I was like, listen.
Listen, guys, let me
enough.
say something.
Fair
This is very important. In Italy, geographically, we have some major city and some seconde piazze, we call it, like second square. I don't know if you can translate
Secondaries.
it. Secondary cities.
Secondary market.
Bergamo, it's not a major city. It's like a secondary market. I can just put another 4 or 5 cities,
It's okay.
much bigger and more important in terms of business, in terms of history, tradition, and all the stuff. Palermo is one of them. Bari is another one of them. There are a few other big cities, like Genova, for example, that are struggling right now with Sampdoria being in Serie B. There are 4 or 5 other big cities that they are much...
Bologna?
What
Bologna,
about it?
we
What
have
about
it
it?
already. Huh?
What about it?
So what I'm saying is that in terms of spectators, in terms of business, in terms of wealth, Atalanta, for the position they occupy right now, it's an overachieving. So it's where they deserve to be because they worked hard and because the management that they have is top of the line. So I don't know if somebody just keeps saying, "Oh, we didn't put it in." Yeah, we made a mistake. We didn't factor.
we gotta say the
Atalanta.
truth.
Yeah,
We gotta say the truth.
Yeah,
We all made a
we didn't
mistake.
factor Atalanta to be on the top 4, and I credit the coach and the Percassi for being an end off because how can you be an end on when you have a Gasperini over there as a coach?
Percassi's hands on.
I don't know about that.
Percassi's hands on. The sporting side, he is. You know who's a name that I think, because I kept saying I don't want to see Gasperini leave, and I still remain on that. I would love them to make up and continue together. The only other guy that I see play with a similar intensity and a similar mindset and a similar ability to overachieve is Vincenzo Italiano of Bologna. He's the only guy that I really could see as a possible replacement for Gasperini.
Would he go there?
Probably.
Why would he go there?
Better
though?
players.
Better players, but it's a sideways
It's a great.
step.
No, it's not.
They're both.
Atalanta's a bigger place
But I'm
than
saying
Bologna.
in terms of
No, it's not.
next
Yes, it is.
season.
Bergamo is bigger than Bologna?
city.
No,
I'm
it's
I'm
not.
talking about a
sporting
city.
side.
I'm talking
Ah.
about football. The
Ah,
players, guys. They
football.
have,
I'm talking about
they
the
have-
cuisine.
No. They have, guys,
Over
look
there
at
you
the
got
players.
tortellini, you got tagliatelle, you got ragu, you got bolognese.
The players,
Hey.
the players that he would have next year with Matteo Retegui, if they convince Lookman to say CDK, Scalvini, Scamacca, they have incredible players. They have Ederson. Ederson is a player that everyone wants. Bellanova's got
But how do you
8
know
assists.
they're not gonna get? First of all,
But
you
because
gotta-
Bologna
you
would
gotta-
take time to build that up, Mike.
You gotta assume that they're not gonna be there's not gonna be like a lot of players being sold or whatever the case is.
Which
'cause
they just did
Gaspe-
last year.
What?
They did it last year. They kept a lot of their guys.
Which they did last year, but with Gasperini going, will the Percassi family change something up? Be like, okay, maybe sell a few.
But that doesn't
more,
have to
you
do
know what
with.
I'm trying to say?
But that doesn't
And-
have to do with the
and
quality
Bologna-
of the quality of Atalanta is much higher than the quality of Bologna.
overall, but I'm just saying.
So it's not a sideways. It can't be a sideways.
Maybe not a sideways, but maybe not a big enough step.
It's a step up, though.
Because I'm sure Bologna will get some funds this season. Maybe they'll be like, listen, don't leave. We'll give you some funds. You can get some better players. Yeah, maybe the overall squad with Atalanta will still be higher, but it's something to think about, especially if Italiano has bigger offers from bigger teams.
My counter to that is I agree that of course Bologna is going to have more money to spend. They've shown that they can, but there's just a built-in foundation at Atalanta. This
I get
is years
overall.
of, this is years of
overall,
Champions League.
for sure.
This is years of experience. One of the things that Italiano kept saying about Bologna is the reason why they struggled early on in the Champions League is nobody had experience. Castro didn't have experience. Dalinga didn't have experience. Endoy, Orsolini, these guys never played in the Champions League. So now he could take a group that's not just it's a miracle to get into Champions League. This is a group that could play their part. This is a group that we just all put in a conversation of maybe winning a Scudetto. So it is for me it's a big step up from Bologna to Atalanta.
I'm not saying. Listen, I'm not saying it's a balanced step. Yeah, I would say over the past few years, Atalanta obviously been playing amazing. But I'm just saying, how could you keep him away from going to a bigger team like a a Milan or Juventus.
Well, we don't know.
whatever the case.
I'm not
trying to say-
I'm not disagreeing on that. I'm saying, but if I was Atalanta and I had to identify one player to take over the project, I would identify him as the ideal
yeah,
replacement.
Okay, yeah. But I'm just saying from his point of view is what I meant.
Okay, let me just put something that is just yesterday that happened. Okay, AC Milan finished second 2 years ago, and everybody was so disappointed on Pioli. Okay, so the fact that you have a foundation, like you call it, if the foundation has cracks on, you're gonna crumble. Whether you pick up Gasperini, whether you pick up Italiano, whether you pick up Allegri, whether you pick up anybody. So when something's starting to crack and it's not holding the weight, you're gonna crack. You're gonna fall apart.
But we could have said that about Bologna last year, right? Because you could say they lost their coach, they lost their three most important players. They were cracks there, right? In quotation mark, cracks.
Right.
But they found solutions to those cracks. So it's not to say that Atalanta can. Atalanta, for me, is a team that in the next 5 years, they should have the ambition to win the Scudetto. They should realistically have the goal of we can fight for the league title.
But Italiano, I don't think is the answer for that.
Really?
I don't think so.
Okay. Where do you chime in on this?
Listen, I think Italiano can make the jump up to Atalanta. I do see it as being a jump up just because, as you mentioned, the stability, even the stadium, like there's a lot going in Atalanta's direction as far as the project, sporting project. And I think also for players, they recognize it as being a place where they can go and develop and you know, have a successful career. Atalanta is really going to come down to what the ownership wants, because you know, this ultimately, you know, there's cycles. So this cycle already is still, I would call this 1B in a sense, because obviously we lost Muriel, we lost the Papu Gomez, Zapata is no longer there. So they did make a change of the guard, but still a lot of the core guys are guys that we've seen before. And a lot of that has to, you know, comes to the point that Gasperini has been there, maintaining the same, you know, status and everything. So when you add now Italiano coming there, it changes a lot, I think. And there's going to be growing pains.
Is he not the most similar, though? For me, of course, I'm not saying that there's anyone that's a Gasperini out there. But for the intensity and for the way that they play, I see Italiano as close as you could probably get. And it's not to say that you have to get a carbon copy. Of course not. It doesn't mean that, because otherwise you would just keep the original. You would just keep Gasperini. You're not going to get somebody to do exactly what Gasperini. You're going to get somebody to evolve with, and maybe the project could become stale after 9 years for all the reasons that they have in their book. Again, I say I would like to keep Gasperini, but if not, I would feel really good about Italiano leading.
Let me tell you one more thing. Go ahead.
Before,
Go ahead.
I would just say, when even for the coach, right, when he makes this move again, if Italiano were to make that next move, he's got to be sure about the move. Because right now he's got something going with Bologna, the players that he has. So when you go to Atalanta and there's a lot of question marks, or it's not so easy now. Look at Juric. We all labeled him as being a great coach, even me.
That's a fair point.
Look at Hellas Verona, Torino. I said, this guy, he motivates his players. Roma was a disaster. So, you know, when you make these jumps, it's not, you know, everything fits. You know, one size fits all. It's not like that. There's a lot of variables. There's a lot of factors that have to be taken into account.
Okay, I asked Mike a stupid question.
I see.
What's his foot size?
I can see your face.
The stupid question that I asked Mike, I said, Mike, what's your shoe size? And Mike says 9.5. I'll tell you the reasons why I ask you. Gasperini's shoes number, it's 15 or 20. So for
Don't think
Italiano,
that's accurate.
European size?
you know how much concrete you need to put over there to fill them in. So Italiano, you know how big is
If
the
the
foot of
glove don't
Gasperini?
fit, you must have quit.
You know how big is the foot of Gasperini?
got clown feet.
So for Italiano to fill
got clown
in those
Gasperini.
shoes, I don't think he has it. Italiano's foot is very small. Gasperini's shoes is very big. Le scarpe di Gasperini sono grandissime.
Why are we talking about their feet?
You know,
That's weird.
In Italy, we say
That's got it behind a paywall.
It's a big shoe to fill in.
They say it in English too.
Oh, they said it, okay. They said it in English? Okay. So
say
I
it
don't
in
think they
America.
say it in
The
Italian.
donkey one.
sì, è una
They don't say
scarpa,
it.
sono delle scarpe troppo grandi
No,
da
I never
riempire.
heard that in Italian.
All right. I think
So
we should,
anyway,
I think we have to end because-
Italiano and Gasperini, they don't even compare.
Oh, yeah,
But guys, Motta's available.
Can't compare. Forget about Motta. What is Motta, by the way?
He's collecting his paycheck.
Oh, good to know. It's one of your favorite too, right?
That's right. I think he can do it too. Why not? He'll be
Maybe
back.
Motta can
He'll
go
be
to
back.
Atalanta,
He's
right?
I'll be back.
That's
He's
right.
available.
That's
I'll
right.
be back.
I'll be back.
That'll
That's
be
what he
Thiago
said?
Motta.
I
That's
thought
what
that
he
it was.
said.
Hey, listen,
I thought it was
Lippi got
Schwarzenegger
sacked.
that said, "I'll
Lippi
be
got
back."
sacked at Juve. He went to Inter, got sacked, and then he still was able to go
Ancelotti
back
got
to
sacked by
Juve.
Real Madrid, came back and won Champions League.
Three
So,
times. How many times?
anything is possible. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Make sure you like, subscribe, and we will talk to you soon. Ciao,
Bye,
ragazzi.
guys.